Who are you? A name perhaps you'd hoped you'd never hear again. A phantom! A shadow of a former life! I am Dave! 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 Dave? Dave!
Dave!
Dave! Ah.
Well, that was awkward.
Yes, it was.
Good evening. Welcome to the Steelers Sanctuary Podcast. I'm Leeann Lohman, joined tonight by Bob Quinn, Dave Ribeiro, David Korb, and Zach Franciscus will be jumping in here momentarily to join us. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Amazing.
Wonderful.
So I think we should jump right in and start talking about some of the wide receiver news that's been kind of swirling around, this week. I think we've all seen at this point that Debo got traded to the Washington Commanders. And we talked about this a little bit before the show. And I told you guys my first reaction was like, oh, 5th round pick, man, I would have done that. And then I found out they were paying him almost $18 million. I went, ouch, like that's a lot of money. What were you guys thinking? Did you feel like we lost out on that one, or maybe we dodged a bullet?
Well, I don't want to offend my fellow castmates here, but my first thought was, Omar missed another one. Here we go. But yeah, like after you find out the contract, and I think I've said it on this podcast before, I'm not a big Debo fan anymore. I mean, there was a time where he was one of the best receivers in the league, but I think he's lost a little bit of that. I'm okay with them passing on Debo Samuel, to be honest.
Yeah, for me, it was, I was just like a 5th. I was like, come on now. We couldn't give up a 5th for this guy. And then I'm like, well, we getting regular Debo or fat Debo? Like, I didn't know which one we were getting.
Cordell Patterson Debo.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm like,
2.0.
Then the price tag, I was like, oh, fuck no. There's no way. I can't do that.
Yeah. I initially I saw the reaction. I kind of was never on the Debo train. I feel like he's lost a lot since that great year he had a couple of years ago. Kind of like Cooper Kupp. He had a really great year. Last couple of years, some of it's been injury, but he was kind of the number one option last year. He really wasn't very good. He only had like 50 catches for 600 yards. I mean, he's a nice little effective, but that's why I was thinking for the Steelers. I mean, how are we going to use him? We're not going to put him in the backfield, and that's where he's most effective. I just at $17 million, I just don't see us spending that kind of money. And I said to our group chat, the only guy maybe fatter than Cordell Patterson, who's a skill position player at this point, is Debo.
Having said all that, though, I can see him balling out for Washington next year. I can see a scenario where he goes off, and we're looking back at this saying we should have taken that 5th round pick.
Washington will use him as sort of like a hybrid tight end type player. Do you know what I mean? And so then I wonder, I don't know. I felt like for all the stuff Art Smith was supposed to do with tight ends, we haven't really seen that yet. So
he's an upgrade over Connor Hayward, that's for sure.
That's not hard. Show up breathing.
I had to put it in there.
And honestly, though, with Washington, he'll be a nice piece, but McLaurin's the clear number one. I think that's
he's a number 2.
I think that Zacchaeus kid really came along, and Brian Robinson is your clear number 1 running back. Now, if he fills into that kind of third down back, third wide receiver role, I think he can maybe still be effective in that. But even at his height, he was never the greatest wide receiver. He was really good with, hey, I get the ball in the backfield on these little screens. And Christian McCaffrey has really eaten into his role.
Yeah.
Yes, Washington can create that role for him, and I think Kingsbury will find some creative ways to use it. I mean, we would have saw him just take a pitch on the outside, and instead of bitching about Cordell Patterson, we'd have been bitching about Debo Samuel.
So the other big kind of wide receiver news, it feels like deja vu all over again. Here we are with Brandon Ayuk. They're, willing to consider something with him. So, of course, it's immediately back to talking about Brandon Ayuk coming to the Steelers. So let's kind of lump those guys all together, because then we've also got Devontae Adams back again, and Christian Kirk is back as a possibility, and Cooper Kupp is a possibility. Are there any of these guys that you feel like are worth biting on? Is there any that you feel like the Steelers will bite on?
Kirk, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think they can afford to not at least make a call on, except for Ayuk. If I'm Omar, I hang up the phone if San Francisco calls. I'm like, no,
Yeah, really.
not talking to you.
I feel like he
Get it.
used us last year.
He
Correct.
did use us. There's no doubt.
Well,
He was
there's-
hurt.
Yeah.
yeah, coming off the injury, and there's rumors that they want to do Pickens for Ayuk straight up.
No,
Yeah,
No way. Nope.
no chance on that. I wouldn't do that.
Kabali
Yeah.
said today that if they had, if that whole deal had really moved forward on Ayuk, that he thinks they were, part of it was that they were going to trade Deontay Johnson as a part of that package there, which I thought was interesting because, boy, would they have really hated us instead of the other way around.
Yeah, that would have worked out
Yeah, no
very
doubt.
well. They could have
Actually, in
spun
the
DJ.
Shanahan offense, maybe he doesn't have the problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is. I'm still convinced somebody could tap into that talent and turn him around. It's got to be a special place though, because he went to 3 places last year and then didn't make it work. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Relic says he's not reading a single Steelers or in talks with article, and I'm just going to tell him that those are like half of what I'm writing right now. So I need to eat. So you got to read those.
It's gotten old
See my
now, though,
name on
right?
them. You got to read them.
I love
It does
rumors
get
and stuff,
old.
but it's getting sick now.
everybody. It's everybody.
Yeah, and they
like,
never
the
get
amount
anybody.
that's gone up incrementally over the past couple of years is like out of control.
Yeah. Well, you're missing the 2 biggest profile positions: a number 1 wide receiver and a quarterback. Those are the 2 biggest high profile spots. So of course it's going to create a ton of rumors because they don't have it.
That's true.
Yeah.
So,
And some of these rumors, I mean, I see it, and you're like, oh, Steelers insider. Like we talked over the weekend, Josina Anderson, something big's coming with the Steelers.
Yeah, that was a
I
crap,
guess
huh?
they're changing the food in the cafeteria.
Right.
I mean, at this point, the way they play it close to the vest, outside of Jerry Dulac, who they feed the information they want out there to, pretty much everybody's kind of guessing at this point. I mean, some of the guys who are closer to the team, like Kaboli, like Brooke Pryor, who are close, when they make a guess, it carries a little more weight. But sometimes you just see things that are so outlandish in the national media where they come in and say, oh, there's something big.
Matthew Stafford. Stafford was the biggest one. He was never coming in. That was never happening.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Not ever. And I think it's interesting though, because I think you say that about like, Dulac or Kabali or Pryor or one of those people that are closer. And I think it's true, but I think that people don't ever read Brooke Pryor, for example, and what she writes, or Jerry Dulac and what he writes. They see a headline or a name, and then they make an assumption and a leap, when really what they said was the Steelers could consider that, he is available as a free agent, or they have said they're willing to consider a trade, or, I think it'd be smart to look at it, something like that, that in no way says the Steelers are in communication trying to work out a deal. And people always take it to like another level. So,
yeah,
if it's true that the quarterback thing's holding them up from everything else, then they got to get that sorted out.
One week. It's got to be 1 week, right? This time.
1 week to free agency.
They got to get that. They got to get that done right now with Fields or whoever they go. They got to get that
But you
done
know what, dude?
right.
They're not going to be able to, because Fields would be a moron to sign before free agency started.
I know.
He'd be a complete moron.
I think it depends on what Fields wants. Do you know what I mean? I think that's going to really be dependent on what he wants. Do you know what I mean? Is this about building something and some consistency, or is this about really just trying to make all the money you can make?
I saw 2 years, $40 million floated for Fields.
He's going to get, if he hits free agency,
He's
going to
have to throw money at him. I mean,
Bob, that might be even more than what you said.
Yeah. What was
I can't remember what you said.
If they offered it to him, what was that? Like $25 million? If they'd extended his contract last year, was it roughly $25 million?
No, it would have been like
yeah, that's
16.
Right. Was it 16?
Okay, so 16.
Okay.
I mean,
They
you're
should
going to have
done
to go
So
way
stupid.
over that. You know what I mean? You turn that down. You're going to have to go way over that.
You trade for a young quarterback. Why don't you pick up his 5th-year option? For $16 million, that's for quarterbacks. That's
They
peanuts.
thought they weren't going to need him. They thought Russell Wilson was going to be the answer, and they weren't going to need him.
You could
Con
argue
artist.
that and with
Oh,
Dodgers.
There
he is.
What's up, Zach?
Well,
And
in fairness, Dave, I will say this for Omar Khan. You got your head coach out there saying Russell Wilson's in pole position. So essentially Justin Fields is a backup So why are you going to guarantee a 5th-year option on a guy who would have been second string? You rolled the dice that, hey,
I
if
guess.
he didn't play those first 6 games, maybe you could have got him on a cheaper deal. But now at this point, I'm sorry. If Justin Fields hits free agency, we are not getting Justin Fields. We either sign him before it starts or we're not getting him.
I mean, you'd have to offer him
10% input he gets. Remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach, we were just talking about the wide receiver. The names that are coming up right now is rumors, all of these names, Brandon Ayuk back in the circle again. And that kind of segued into, them saying that the quarterback situation really drives what we do with wide receiver. Are there any of these wide receivers that have been circling around you think legitimately have a shot at ending up in black and gold this year?
The word legitimately is the problem there. And it's for the exact reason that you guys said, because I'm sitting there, I'm looking, and the Steeler fans on Twitter saying, I can't believe we didn't try to get Ayuk. I'm like, we had no shot at getting him last year. We're not going to have a shot at this year. We didn't have a shot at Debo, because who's going to come to a place that doesn't even know who their quarterback is yet? So I completely understand why we're not even getting a sniff. And we're probably going to have to double dip in the draft if we want some legitimacy, because we're dragging our feet with our quarterback situation.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how disappointed will you be if Russell Wilson's the quarterback next year? Because I'm at 100 if Russell Wilson's. I just can't even. The way you guys feel about Uncle Aaron is the way I feel about Justin Fields. And I mean, Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just can't do another season with him. I can't.
I'm not that like out on it. Do you know what I mean? I felt like he had I think there was some other stuff going on with the team at those end of the season. Do you know what I mean? In those games we lost, I feel like he played 3 teams that went, into the playoffs. Well,
vomit.
You know what I mean? All together. Do you know what I mean? I just think it was a bad situation. And I think, with Pickens and everything coming to a head. So I don't feel like the worst thing that happened to the team at the end of the season was Russell Wilson. I feel like there was a lot of other stuff going on. So I don't put all that loss on him. But if I had a preference, I'd obviously prefer Justin Fields.
Absolutely.
I can't. I agree with everything you said, but there's a ceiling with him that you're not getting any further than.
If they bring Wilson back, they better get him some more playmakers. Playmakers, O-line ads got to happen. There's a lot that needs to happen for them to make any of this work with Russell Wilson at quarterback. If they don't do those 2 things, it's just going to be deja vu all over again.
Relic Fields is a vet at this point. A substantial.
It would be like unnecessarily turning up the difficulty when they haven't even mastered novice yet. There's no reason to bring Russell Wilson back and you're going to have to work so much harder than you would have to if you brought someone else in. So that's how I feel about the Russell Wilson of it all. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be the world caving in, but it would be horrible, and it would be regression. And to me, it would be the Steelers waving the white flag ahead of the season.
Yes, that's my point. That's exactly my point, Zach. You sign Russell Wilson, you've given up on 2025.
But if you don't get Justin Fields, then what?
Then you're
Somber's harsh. That's scum between my toes. I think Russ is a nice guy.
Somber.
Unfortunately, that's the reality. If Justin Fields gets away, they're screwed.
Russ ain't that bad of a guy. Damn.
No, he's a good guy. So then
scum between your toes, Jesus.
Somber is quoting Little Rascals. He's quoting the letter that was written to
her. Okay.
Yeah. There's not a lot of options. So that's my thing that I keep coming back to. So if Bob's right and we miss out on Justin Fields for whatever reasons, you know what I mean? Then who? Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the answer for us going forward. We're not, I said it last week, we're not a Super Bowl, a quarterback away from a Super Bowl. So Absolutely. He's not the answer. So then who?
Well, Russell Wilson certainly isn't the answer.
But somebody's got to quarterback the team. So if you don't get Justin, then who?
Well, assuming you can get Aaron Rodgers for a reasonable facsimile of 15 to 20 million, it's the same as you pay. But I'll give you some names I'd rather have, and this is how strongly I feel about not wanting Russell Wilson back. Cooper Rush, who, if you follow Legendary Picks, is a guy I love. Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Drew Lock, Jared Stidham, Mac Jones, Jameis Winston, anybody.
Mac Jones, oh boy.
Anybody but Russell Wilson.
I'm not all right. I'm not that far down.
I am loving this tank for Arch route that Bob's going.
Yeah, because that's exactly what we'd be doing with some of those guys.
Let me ask you guys this. This has come up a lot. Come up a lot lately. Mr. Tummy brought it up, said we may not have the option to be choosy. Not a lot of good players that would want to come to the Steelers. The list is short. Do you guys agree with that? Both quarterbacks, wide receivers. I mean, this keeps coming up. Even
offensive players, yeah.
I think it was Brooke Pryor said that legacy used to count for a lot, and
Yep.
Yeah.
It did. And those grades, I think, I think those grades, I think I'd hurt too. Players knowing that other players said that this is not a franchise right now that is going to take care of you the way you want to be taken care of. So why are you going to come here? I think that could have hurt too.
I thought
that Patrick Peterson thing.
Yeah, I was about to say it too, Dave.
When he goes to his friend's house to get a sauna because I mean, come on.
Wally said though that he thinks that score is 100% about that facility. So if they go get a new facility, all of that goes away. Do you know what I mean?
Probably.
It has nothing to do with like Rooney personally or ownership personally. It has everything to do with the facility and how dated it is. And so, if there's no other way to score it but that. So for the teams that all had those bad scores like that for ownership, every one of them, and I looked it up, he was right. Every one of them has old facilities that are considered dated. Right. And they all gave them these low scores. Miami, I forget the other ones. I looked them all up though. Kansas City.
And some teams, I think, believe in being that old school tough. Like they want that mindset, not the we're going to spoil you rotten with all these things.
Yeah,
like,
but I mean,
and I'm not saying I disagree with it. I'm saying in general, like that's kind of how we are. Like that's how the Steelers have been. We're old school. We're tough.
Greens wants to bring back the trash can full of beer and the sauna in the locker room when the game's over and the cigar smoking. Do you know what I mean? But then complains that everything isn't top of the line. I don't know.
It's weird to me. Like I said, I'm not saying this. I'm saying like just certain teams want to have that old school mentality, a toughness.
Having basic things that every club has, like was it the sauna or the hot tub that Patrick Peterson?
Sauna. It was a sauna.
I mean, I think 30 teams in the league, 31 teams in the league have that. I mean, this is being rough and old school, and they're just being downright ridiculous and cheap. I mean,
well, I mean,
I don't even know if it's cheap because where do you put something? You have no room to put it. You have to just move.
You got to figure it out.
Out to Cranberry and move.
Well, think about we go to Latrobe every year to stay in those dorms,
right?
That are we've been doing that.
That shit builds character,
right? But that's the mentality. But
I don't know
if Antonio Brown got his own little trailer outside because he couldn't handle it.
He shouldn't have been allowed to.
I'm just saying, like these are that's the mentality of the Steelers, old school, tough.
But don't they have a sauna in there now? Didn't I hear that they put one in?
I have no idea. I don't worry about whether they have a sauna or not. Fucking Steelers. I don't give a fuck.
But it's just the example.
Like, just this stuff to me is just. I don't know.
The problem is with modern players, old school tough is rinky dink cheap, and that's how they look at it. So if I'm coming here, I'm gonna say, hey man, and like we've heard, guys are saying I had it better in college. Hell. Donnie Shedrick on 93.7, The Fan, said he had it better in high school. And he didn't play major college football.
I wouldn't be surprised if some high school teams in football in Texas are better than the Steelers.
And that's where we're at now in 2025. People want the upgraded shit. And
I think
it's not just an upgrade thing, I think, because these are like multi-million-dollar investments of like the upper echelon of human athleticism. And if you have a good high school and you have a good college that has told you this is how you take care of your body, longevity, take care of your body, you get to the NFL and you don't have access to that like you should at the pro level, that would be incredibly disheartening to me because I would wonder, why are you stopping me from making myself the best of what I can be? Dietary stuff, the strength and recovery stuff, all of that matters to these guys because their entire career is based on that. So that has to be frustrating, and deters people from wanting to come here.
Yeah.
I think an even bigger deterrent is the way the offense has been coached and played. Like offensive players don't want to come here because it's bad. It's like next level bad. Like it has been for 3 or 4 years.
It's everything.
Wide receiver.
It's everything, dude.
Yeah,
it's everything.
Worth his salt's going to come here voluntarily.
Sad truth is that, and you can see this from Patrick Queen and Deshaun Elliott, who are coming out of their mouth sideways. It's the defense too. I mean, it's a simple hybrid. They just want. I mean, Tomlin needs to stop screwing around and say, "I want to play 4-3. I wanted to play 4-3 for 17 years, but because we had success in 3-4, I just will play this half-ass Tampa 2 in an undersized nickel and just get my brains beat in."
Mr. Tummy asked if it's a lease issue, maybe they don't want to invest in a facility that they'll leave soon. The lease at UPMC, I believe, runs out in 2030. But if they were to build a giant country club type facility like the Ravens have, and they were to do that out in Cranberry like the Penguins did, it would take some time to get that built. So
Yeah.
I don't know
This
how
is
long.
something they should have seen coming 10 years ago, 5 years ago. That this is.
Yeah.
If they really want to keep it viable, all they have to do is kick Pitt out. Honestly,
They're
when you
not
look
going
at
to do that.
when
Because
you
they have
look
a
at the
contract
facility-
with Pitt too.
well, no, the city has a contract with Pitt.
No,
Pittsburgh
but the
could buy it
Steelers
out.
agreed to that, so I don't think they can just kick them out.
There's only 5 years left. The Steelers could absolutely buy it out if they wanted to.
Yeah,
Oh, buy it out, forget it. That's not happening.
that's not happening.
Yeah, they'll never do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Come
the
on,
problem
Bob.
is
Look
that
who you're
when they
talking
split
about.
the
You're asking them to
facilities,
spend money,
picked
Bob.
the
How
worst
dare
half.
you?
Come on.
They picked the worst half. The Steelers split the facility in half, and they took the wrong half.
I could see.
You
Dave's
said buy
head,
them out. I almost fell out of my chair.
explode. Yeah, I could see.
There's only 5 years left on a 30-year lease. It's not nearly as much as you think.
He's
They
not
can
spending
do
an
it.
extra nickel that he doesn't have to. Anyway.
All right,
Yeah.
let's switch gears a little bit and talk about Darius Slay, cornerback from the Philadelphia Eagles. They have said that they are going to release him. Slay, I believe, is 34 or getting ready to turn 34, but he did just win a Super Bowl with the Eagles. He was a contributor, although I think this was his first year without an interception since his rookie season, which is, interesting. But he has talked before about Mike Tomlin, and he has, an interest in that. So I pulled up the quote he had said. He said, "Everybody knows Mike Tomlin. You know what I'm saying? One of the best coaches that ever do it. I love Mike Tomlin. Like, if I wasn't playing for Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles, he'd be one of the next coaches I'd be wanting to play for, just because I hear such great things about him. And I met him a couple times. We had great talks, man. I respect what he's doing over there, and he respects my game." So, I mean, it is possible. The scuttlebutt immediately became that, Slay to the Steelers. What did
It
you
would be
guys?
a very small check mark to me. It would be a check mark, but it would.
We need a cornerback.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson took the shine off of bringing veteran quarterbacks in to try and do something with it. Unless if we proved on defense we knew how to use players the right way and all that, then maybe. But I don't think we know how to properly use him, when we might overuse him like we tried to do with Patrick Peterson.
So
He had no choice but to overuse Patrick Peterson. I mean, my goodness.
yeah,
That's a good point, actually.
So for me, he has a 67.6 overall grade. Now his coverage grade was 68.9. So to compare, Dante Jackson's coverage grade was 46.2.
Ooh.
Okay, so
Sounds accurate to me.
and then Dante Jackson's overall grade was 50. Now Dante Jackson had 5 interceptions to Slay's 0.
Right.
So
Those
I think
interceptions are
so.
overrated.
Do I think that technically it could be an upgrade as the CB2? Yes. However, I don't know how much it's going to cost. And 2, is he going to fall off a cliff? Is Father Time going to hit him right in the fucking face? So those are the two things that kind of just, I don't know how I feel. Against him, they had a passer rating of 78.3, which is not bad, actually. It's better than 100 some against some other guys. Maybe Dante Jackson. But in general, I like how, but to me, it depends on the money. Just like a lot of these guys, it depends on the money. Like, I'm not going to pay him a ton of fucking money when he's Father Time's right there looking at him.
If he does the job better, doesn't that open Minka back up to make the interceptions that he's supposed to be making? Do you know what I mean?
There's a lot with Minka that I was expecting that I don't get to see.
True.
So
There's a lot of shitty stuff in our defense that wasn't Minka's fault that I felt like he was covering up for.
it could be.
Tim Sutton.
It's a good thing he was 85 yards off the ball. He was making sure they didn't run for 380 yards.
That's not his fault, though, right? That's the coach's fault for
Yeah,
putting him
that's
there. I mean,
Oh, well, that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, that's
guys.
a whole different issue.
as far as Slay goes, I mean, when players start talking about retirement, that's the first sign that they've pieced out.
Usually they say, like, That's it. Like once you get
Yeah.
that in your mind,
I'm all set
Yeah.
with a 34-year-old guy who's talking about retiring. I know he's better to me. He is better than Dante Jackson, but I think they can do better in free agency than Darius Slay.
What about Mike Hilton?
That's another
No.
one. He can't cover me. He's a good blitzer and a good tackler, but he's a
Which the
liability.
Steelers don't do
Yeah.
anymore.
He's a liability.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed with him anymore.
Dick
Just not.
LeBeau was going to come out. I mean, Hilton is
Yeah.
undersized.
Yeah, they don't blitz
small.
anymore. Good point, Bob. You're right. 100%. It's. I loved him when he was here, but that ship has sailed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, DJ.
I do
Reed's the
like
only
your new
really
bar, though.
Halfway decent.
What was it?
I like your new bar about if a person can cover me, then they're good.
Well,
That's where the
yeah.
bar.
Yeah.
Right. If
I
They
love
can't.
that. That was
They
great.
can't cover Dave. We're not Simon.
Yeah, you're in big freaking trouble if you can't cover me. Big trouble.
Yeah. Mike Hilton, no, he don't move the needle for me anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think ever since he left the Steelers, I think he had a good year in his first year with Cincy, and then since then,
Yeah,
Way
Uh-oh.
younger.
they stopped blitzing him
Hilton
too.
can't cover Bob on tequila. That's even worse than Dave.
Get young guys. Go younger and get guys
Yeah.
who want to
So
hit.
who
Get
is
guys
that
who
guy,
actually
Max?
want to hit.
Realistically,
Well, it's weird you bring that up.
Who is that guy?
Dave, you got some names on the free agent market?
well, no, I thought we were going to talk about didn't the corner get cut or something? DJ Turner.
That's
Yeah,
DJ.
that's one
Yeah.
from the Jets.
Yeah.
That's one.
Would not mind that. Would not
I
mind
mean,
him.
24
one.
years old. His coverage, I mean, actually, his grade overall was 67.8. It's the exact same as Slay's. And his coverage grade was 68.4. So he'd be an upgrade. He'd be an upgrade over fucking Dante Jackson, and he's 10 years younger.
Well,
So, and he's fast as fuck, right? Isn't he the one that was really fast at the combine?
yeah, but hold on. Before we go down the DJ,
I'm
Turner
holding
road,
on, Bob.
Before we go too far down, he was on the second year of his rookie contract. They are cutting him, and bear in mind, Cincinnati's about to spend a whole lot of money. They're cutting him going into the third year of his rookie contract.
So it is
It is strange.
It is.
And you only paid a guy $1.5 million. So if he's any good, if he's just the body at this point, you're paying him nothing. Those are the kind of guys you got to have when you're going to pay, $150 million to your quarterback and 2 wide receivers.
Now, I saw he only did 500 snaps last season. Was he injured?
He broke his collarbone.
He broke his collarbone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say that.
I was just going to bring
come
up
back from
DJ
that.
Reed. DJ Reed would be somebody that
There you go. There's
You
another
have
one.
to spend some money, but he's probably the
Yeah.
best corner.
He would be
in
worth
free
it,
agent.
though. He's more of a worth spending the more money,
Yes.
though, right?
Kind of a CB2, though.
Oh,
Okay.
that's-
I'll pay him CB2
Ideally,
money.
that's all we need. I'm not sure
Yeah,
that's
we-
true, but ideally, that's all we would need.
Pay him
Um,
CB2 money and move on.
But
Yeah.
he's going to
And
get
then-
CB1 money because nobody else is any
that's true.
good.
Oh,
Well-
and draft one. That too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, we would probably have to pay him CB1 money to get him to come here to play as a CB2.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
Good
Tomlin still has a little bit
That's a
of
good point.
magic over defensive players, but the offensive guys are the ones I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
Because look, Slay's dying to come here. He loves Tomlin. Blah blah blah.
I'm concerned about the whole thing. So, yeah.
You know who
Yeah.
else was dying to come here? Patrick Peterson. How's he feel about the Steelers now?
Mm.
Patrick Peterson's a salty old bitch. He's just mad.
Damn!
Damn. He's not fooling me at
Shots
all.
fired.
Come on
Just
now.
caught him assault.
Who spent
I was
He is. I'm like, look, I don't, I'm not saying that anything he's saying is not necessarily true, but I lose a lot of respect for players just former players that just sit around and talk shit about their former organizations. You know what I mean? He was old as shit. We brought him in. He couldn't do the job. Then we let him go. And then you're going to sit back on your podcast and talk shit about the Steelers when you weren't even good enough to stay on the team.
Yeah, I was on that from the very beginning. Asked Dave. I thought that was a horrendous signing.
Yeah,
I knew it.
Yeah, you were against it. Yep.
And you know
was-
what?
he was done.
You guys this. I used to write for a Vikings organization when Peterson was good. And he was a really good player. You know what I mean? He was exciting to watch. I saw a lot of his tape and I was excited about it. But then when I saw we were signing him, I was immediately concerned. I'm like, he's not that Patrick Peterson anymore. I hope maybe he would find the fountain of youth, maybe being in Pittsburgh, something with Mike Tomlin would reinvigorate him. But yeah, I lose a lot of respect for guys that just sit around and talk shit. I really do. And
Okay,
he's right up there.
If you're going to sign a 34-year-old cornerback, go get the guy who's the best best old
Yeah,
quarterback available, Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mind it.
I mean, if
No?
you're going to do it, if you're going to
Stack
sign
young.
an old guy,
Start signing young players. I mean, don't.
Yeah.
We're not one cornerback away from winning a Super Bowl. Don't. What do we need a 34-year-old guy for? Go invest in somebody. I don't like the.
most
You
of
know.
the younger quarterbacks aren't
Invest in a
good.
young free agent or trade,
Yeah.
or do you mean in the draft?
Well, how
All
old's
of it.
Reed? How old's Reed?
Because I mean, I'm all in on drafting, but we've only got so many early draft picks. I'm a little concerned about
Yeah.
He's
what
28.
we need the
28?
most.
Okay.
Wait, that's not
I mean,
bad.
not to bring up Kevin Colbert, but he had kind of a hard and fast rule. He didn't want to sign free agents, especially on defense, that were over 30.
Right.
He had a hard. He did not want to do that because
He
it
preferred
rarely
to
works
draft
out.
Artie Burns.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you get lucky.
Yeah, but
with
then he
guys like-
drafted like crap, and the team
There
went
we
to
go.
shit, and then he had to bring.
At least he didn't give $10 million to Patrick Peterson and watch him.
From now on, Dave, when you say Kevin Colbert, just mute Bob for like
Yeah,
5 minutes.
I got to move both of
and-
these two
And
clowns.
then you can get through that.
I mean, he left the roster in such disarray. I mean,
We
look,
don't
for
want to. I
young
don't want to
guys-
go to Kevin Colbert today.
Sorry. Look,
Yeah.
Colbert might have had 25% input by then, Dave. So I'll give you that. Okay.
Right.
I'm not giving the input excuse for the con artist. So no, don't.
I'm sticking to that for the rest of my life. That he only has 10% input from
I mean,
here on out.
You could
Right.
take
But
a
both
chance.
things can be true, that Colbert didn't do a great job with the draft, and it isn't a great idea to bring in defensive players, particularly over 30. I think that
Yeah,
I think that both of those
100%.
things can be true. I think there's some validity to that. I think the Cam Haywards of the world are unicorns, and you don't run into a lot of those. Aaron Darnold, guys like that can play well into their 30s. And I don't know, personally, I think Cam's doing well because he stayed in an organization that he knows, with plays he knows, on a team he knows, where he's comfortable. If we'd uprooted him and he'd gone to Cleveland like he threatened to do last year or whatever, I don't know that he would have done as well.
And especially corners. Corners are so reliant on speed. You're going to sign a 34-year-old guy. I mean, Slade played good last year.
What about Carlton
Davis.
Davis? Vaughn
Carlton
says he's
Davis.
25. Carlton Davis the
I
third.
mean,
It's
again, like Dave said, depending on the money, I'd rather have Carlton Davis than Slay. I mean, how about we
younger,
fix the
upgrade.
position?
Yeah.
I
As
like
long as
Sign the
you're-
guy for 3 years and
As
fix
long
it.
as it's an upgrade, that's the thing. And if they're younger than 34, yeah, absolutely.
I'm with Sombra. I like Murphy too. He's pretty good.
Yeah. I think
Turner
Murphy
could be
would
had on
be
the
good.
cheap though, wouldn't he? Because he's coming off his
Carlton
rookie
Davis
contract.
is 28. He's
Yeah.
not 25.
Oh,
Oh,
Even still, 28
it's
is
still not bad. I mean,
still not
Yeah.
bad.
that's still not that bad.
John's concerned
28,
that
you just-
with the quarterback next year, it'll be 2027, the earliest, before being ready. And they need to build. Well, 20.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
27 and beyond in mind. I agree with that. I like that idea of working to get younger. I keep saying we're not a player away from the Super Bowl, and
I agree.
I think John hit the nail on the head there. I mean, you got to be
But
looking younger.
I wrestle with this because it's what we want and what the organization's going to do. And it seems like they're going the other way, where they're going to sign
yeah.
a veteran, Russell Wilson, and a couple other veterans and try to win again. And it's
Well,
like,
they're always going to look at it like maybe there's a chance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe there's a chance we could win. What do we have to do to take that step? And
So you're telling me there's a chance?
yeah, there's a chance.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
the only. Go ahead.
Juan said, sorry, that was his free agency prank.
Yeah, really quick before Bob goes, I think we're going to know very soon in free agency what direction we're going to go. The first guy we sign, whether he's 25 or 34, we're going to know exactly what direction we're going to be going. I think that's going to be a clear indicator. Bob, what was you going to say about?
I was going to say, I mean, when you start to look, if you want, ideally, yes, you do want, free agents coming off their first contract. But if you're a good corner, you're not hitting free agency at 25, 26. You may be like DJ Reed because the Jets are like, we got Sauce Gardner. We could pay a cornerback to a hell of a lot less than we could pay you, and we'll take our chances. But you're talking about like projects like Jeff Okudah, who could be really good, but he's not panned out anywhere he's gone. And then, maybe a guy like Byron Murphy, who had
He's
a
gonna cost
couple of
you.
good years, but then has had a lot. I don't think he will cost you that much because he had 2 really good years and he sucked for the last 4 or 5 years. So
If he sucked for the last 4 or 5, doesn't that just mean he sucks?
Right. I mean, to me, that means you
Pretty
suck. I
much,
don't see you coming
I
back.
don't think he's been that bad though, has he? I don't watch him that
I'm just
closely.
saying,
so
if you suck for that many years in a row, you just suck. That's I don't know.
He's
David, if
been
you
on,
stuck at your job for 4 or 5 years, you wouldn't have that job anymore. I mean,
Right.
that seems like a no-brainer.
You'd
to
be a
me.
free agent too, Dave.
Like the big
Yeah.
promotion.
Yeah.
I've worked for a lot of bosses that should not have been in their positions in the first place. So you can be
Right.
really bad at your job and
This
keep
is
it for a while.
true. This
Yeah,
is
true.
true. I've had my share of those too. So Vaughn says he hopes that they double dip on defensive line, wide receiver, and cornerback in the draft /
All
free
three?
agency. I
I was
definitely
gonna say all three. That's
Come on,
like
can you
almost all of their
just
picks.
confirm? Because
Well,
that's
well,
6 right there.
Might as well.
it's
And that's
possible.
it.
Oh wait. Oh, did you mean
And one
double
running
dip as
back.
in one defensive
running back and
lineman
all that.
free agency,
I
one
could see
defensive
two
lineman?
of them twice. I could see them
Yeah.
Defensive
dipping.
line.
A
Because
couple of them.
Yeah,
we're confused.
defensive line seems like a no-brainer for a double
Yeah.
dip if you want to get
Yeah.
somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it depends
Somebody
when
do
they
their
double
own
dip, though. I mean, and the key is like if we, the guy I think they'll go first is Kenneth Grant. It's too bad he had the hamstring strain where he couldn't run at the combine, but he did the bench press. He's kind of a freak, and so I did the first draft profile on him because I think he's the first. Maybe in the middle rounds they could revisit, the Walker from Kentucky, the guy I did the profile on today, Ty Robinson. Maybe in the middle rounds, but more than likely, if they do double dip, it's going to be the 1st and the 7th, which means you're going to get a project player who may come along. Well, they've done that the last couple of years, so one of these project guys has got to come along now. To maybe a Logan Lee or somebody like that has got to come along and hit. Wide receiver, I think they need to go 2-3 or 2-4 if they're going to go wide receiver.
That's
at a
another one they
double
need to
dip.
double dip at. There's a lot of double dip and not enough picks to do all that.
Not
Ooh,
enough to do
shocker,
all
double
that.
dip it.
Double dip
Running
at
back.
running back is interesting.
That's not a crazy
I
idea.
wouldn't,
I
I
kinda
wouldn't be
like
mad at that either at this point.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
best position in the
Great
draft.
draft to do it. Great draft
Yeah.
to do it.
We got
but
4
Bob and
different positions down to double dip at. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I'm not.
If we go defensive lineman in the first round, I would put and I don't bet, I would put money on us double dipping defensive lineman. We draft defensive lineman in the first
Yeah.
round. We will
Oh, yeah.
draft another
Yeah,
one.
100%.
we're gonna double
I'd
dip.
be willing
Yeah,
to
I
put money
agree.
on that,
Day
absolutely.
3, we're taking probably another one.
I agree with
So that-
Summer, by
but
the way. I
we-
think they're going to sign a free agent corner and not draft a corner too high.
Maybe.
I think it's not a deep corner draft, right?
I disagree after watching it. There's some guys
Oh,
who
it is.
really helped themselves.
Oh,
Well,
the
let's talk
contract.
about that since Rob brought it up. Let's talk a little bit about the combine and what you saw. Did you see some guys there that you felt like maybe you weren't expecting the Steelers maybe wouldn't consider, and now you're kind of hoping they do? Or there are guys that you assume the Steelers would consider, and now you're thinking, not so much? Is there people that surprised you? Zach, what did you see?
I haven't. This is one of the first days I have not caught up on any of the draft stuff. So we should probably jump to someone who knows
Okay.
specifically about what's going on with this right now.
For me, like the running backs, that Brashay Tootin, I think you say his name.
Yeah.
I mean, running the
Brashay
4.32 was
Virginia Tech.
was fucking impressive.
It was really
And
Yeah.
he jumped like crazy too. He had a great workout.
Oh yeah,
Fantastic.
I'll bet. But Ollie Gordon, a 4.61. I was like, is he? I mean, I thought he was supposed to be fast too, but a 4.61 really surprised me.
Yeah, he had a bad run.
Hampton, a 4.46. I mean, was that expected with Hampton? I mean,
Yeah.
was that where we
4
thought?
fours.
Okay. Gleb Johnson, a 4.57. I was just like, I thought he'd be faster too.
I heard his stock. I think that pushes him to round 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, for running backs, for that was the one where I thought, wow, there's some things I did not see coming there for sure.
Yeah, and as far as corners go, we were just talking about it. The kid who helped himself the most was Hairston out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
That time was ridiculous.
4.28.
He's already a pretty good, cornerback. He played more on the outside than the inside, but I mean, kind of the same issue I have with Jahdae Barron. And Hairston especially struggles against big corners or big wide receivers, and he's not a very good tackler. But I could see him sliding into the nickel. You get him in round 3, maybe, he was round 3, round 4. That's not so bad. The kid I love who really helped himself is Darian Porter out of Iowa State.
Yeah.
This kid is a monster. He's 6'3", ran a 4.3. I like this kid. I was really disappointed. The guy I love, Siobhan Ravel. I know it was a long shot for him to run at the combine, but now they're talking. Dave brought up in prep, he might not run in his pro day. As much as I like him, I could see, okay, let's back way the heck off. I can't risk a first and a second on a guy who might not play. The other guy, he's a safety, who I believe demonstrated
South Carolina
quarterback traits. Nick Amenwari, who I picked in my mock a couple of weeks ago. I'm telling you, that again, 6'3", hugely fast, has cornerback skill.
He's a first-round pick now, though, Bob. I think he got himself in the first round.
Yeah, he's probably a first-round pick, but if he goes to the second, I might run that.
I think he tested perfect 10 RAS, right?
He's got
it's ridiculous.
He had a 4.38 40.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
The kid Porter is a converted wide receiver. Oh, go ahead.
Henderson in the second and Judkins in the third. Any thoughts on that?
I think they're both going in early second.
Yeah, I don't think
they're going to make it that far.
Grab both Ohio State backs? No.
Yeah.
Well, it worked out pretty good for Ohio State.
Curtin, you're not an Ohio State fan, are you? That's kind of weird.
Yeah, but you'd have to get him in the second and third. That would be a huge waste of draft capital to take running backs that high back to back.
By the way, that Amenwari had the highest vertical, 43.
Yeah, he was a perfect 10 RAS. He was a freaking freak.
Unbelievable.
Oh, he had the biggest broad jump, 11.6.
Yeah, the broad jump. He was 11.6 or 11.5 or something. That was crazy.
They legitimately said it's one of the best workouts of all time.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
unbelievable.
There's a quarter sliding down the draft board, and I don't understand why. Trey Amos out of Mississippi. If you watch his gauntlet,
he's okay. He's good.
He's just so smooth. But he went from maybe the second or third quarterback picks. I mean, it's not like he ran in mud. He was a 4.43. He's a bigger corner. So if he slid into the second or early third, that's another guy that I would really like.
That guy Porter you were talking about, he's a converted wide receiver. He only played 1 year at corner, so that's the downside of him. He doesn't have a lot of experience, and the Steelers are not exactly the developmental capital of the NFL. I mean,
that Zay Alexander had a 4.56 40.
Yeah.
Little disappointing.
I was gonna say that's gonna hurt him a little bit.
Definitely pushes him into day 3.
Quincy Riley, a 4.48, a guy that I had
said he was
one
going
of
to
my.
be super fast.
Which one?
Yeah.
Riley, I heard. I think it was
4.48. I mean, it wasn't like
Jeremiah said he was going to run like a 4.3.
He wasn't 4.5s, but I mean, like for a guy that was like, I think he was like a 4th or 5th round projection, anyways, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. How about
he was
John A. Barron at 4.39? That came out of nowhere, and nobody thought he was going to.
He's and when we argued the other day, I don't think for the Steelers he's a great fit, but he's going to be top 20 with that run now. He's.
Allow me to give him a nickname, though.
Well,
T-Rex, little baby arm.
T-Rex.
That's the little baby arm.
I'd say this running back group impressed the shit out of me. It's so good.
Oh yeah,
there's so many good running backs.
Because I knew it was deep, but seeing how fast. But the one position I'm trying to get myself comfortable with, if the Steelers use a first round pick on, if the Steelers do take a wide receiver with 21. Well, you guys gonna feel, because we need it, but
Matthew Golden.
For some
Matthew
reason,
Golden
depends on how the draft falls. Like, I feel like I cannot answer that question not knowing how the draft is going to fall.
That's a good point. Like, if there's like defensive linemen and like really good guys around, and we take a wide receiver, and it feels like we, if Matthew Golden's there, I would love that.
Like,
I really would.
Dude, 4.29 40. I didn't see that coming. Like, because Isaiah Bond was saying he was going to break the record.
Yep.
So you're just like, okay.
He ran 4.4.
Yeah, he ran a 4.39. So, which is nothing. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
But
when you're talking shit, you're going to break the all-time record.
You don't do it, but yet
and your teammate whips your ass.
Kicks your ass. Yeah. It's like, it's my guy Ty Felton ran a 4.37 40.
Yeah.
Who I had taken in a 3rd or 4th in my one mock. So like, I think he helped his stock. Loser, though, definitely is Tez Johnson.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
So
he's undraftable.
He's
undraftable.
Check this out. He's the first guy since 2003 to weigh 170 pounds and run the slowest 40-yard dash.
It was so fast. Like he was running in wet jeans. Like, I can run faster than that.
Did he weigh 154? I think he weighed 154, right?
Undersized and slow. Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly
not a
First
good,
one
not a good
since
combination.
2003, guys, to run that bad.
Shower Curtain says Abuka's better than Golden. Well, maybe he should have run the 40.
Ask you guys, what do you think?
I don't
Then
like.
we would have known. Maybe he should have
I
worked
don't-
out.
Shower
Yeah.
Curtain's a Homer Ohio State fan.
Yeah, I
And
guess
we
so.
know that now.
Yeah.
Ah,
I think
Much
they're both
love.
reaches.
But I know what you are now. You're
gave
not,
yourself away.
yeah, you gave
Yeah.
yourself away.
Egbuka and Golden. The speed was surprising, and he is a smooth player, and he can kind of play all over. But there's something about I mean, if I want my receivers to be a little bit bigger, the 5'11" guy, yeah, I think he could be good, but I feel like him and Egbuka both are reaches. They'd have been third rounders last year, so I don't love
Which
reaching
one,
for a
Egbuka
wide
and who?
receiver. And
Golden.
Golden.
I don't
I
think
feel
Golden
like
would.
they would have been third rounders last year.
No.
With a 4.29 40 now on top of everything else?
Yeah, on top of already being one of the best route runners in the nah.
Third
Yeah,
rounder,
he's a
Bob?
smooth, he's a smooth player. You got to remember how great the wide receiver draft was last year.
I get what you're saying, but I mean to say this guy's a third whenever I mean, look what he's doing. And that was think about the QB he had too on top of it. I don't know.
Summer brought up
I don't
Jalen
know.
Noel. He had a good workout too. At reps on the bench, he ran a 4.4, 4.3. Jalen Noel
4.3.
helped himself a lot.
4.39. He upped himself the second most of any Iowa State wide receiver.
Yeah.
Higgins showing up and running mid 4.4s. I love the kid. I really want the Steelers to get him, but he's probably pushed himself very high in the second round, if not late first round. Hopefully something happens where it comes back.
He had a
down.
good overall combine though, didn't he? I mean, I thought
Fourth ranked wide receiver.
okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I thought he did good enough though. I don't think he's gonna lose that much.
Yeah, and
That
he,
brings up an interesting question. He says, he wonders what the correlation is between combine numbers and NFL success.
It's not good.
It goes both ways.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It goes both ways.
It's not
gotten
slam
a
dunk.
lot better recently.
Chase
Said a lot
Claypool
better
knocked it out of the
recently.
ballpark at the combine. That's all
Yeah,
you need to
I
know.
think
Yeah.
It doesn't always hold up. It doesn't always hold up.
I think there's good years, and then they make a case that they did a great job evaluating, and then it'll turn around the next year and it'll be terrible. So
I think maybe what we have to look at is not just that direct, but what people thought right before the combine compared to what they thought after compared to what the NFL success was. If you saw that, then I think that would tell you the spikes and where that I would be fascinated.
that's
to
a
see
good point.
if anybody knows where that study is, because I think especially now when we have all talked about the fact that you can pretty much say anything without much accountability, and then in a little bit the incredible deluge of social media will wash it away. Same thing now. The amount of people that raved about blankety blank before the combine, and now he's a little slower than we thought, so we dropped those spikes. That's why I can't take too much of it seriously.
I think particularly the guys that really raise their draft stock because they're faster than people expected, but then their skills aren't any better than they were when they played in college. You know what I mean? But all of a sudden they go much higher, and then people are surprised that they aren't as good as they thought they were going to be because they were so fast.
Well, what about these defensive tackles? I mean, Bob, you did a draft profile on Ty Robinson, ran a 4.83 40.
Yeah.
Defensive tackle?
He also came in almost 30 pounds under what he was supposed to.
Oh, well, then that makes more sense then.
Well, that happens a lot with defensive linemen. They slim up so they can run fast.
Derek Carmen, though, ran a 4.95. I mean, that's good.
That's impressive numbers. At
My
defensive
guy,
tackle.
my seventh round guy that I want the Steelers to get is that Nazir Stackhouse. It took him, he ran at 5.15, but I mean, the man weighs 340 fucking pounds, 6'7". So like, I can't run that fast. So that's impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean,
There are some fast defensive linemen.
and just like everything else in football, the evaluations have gotten much better. 10 years ago, a guy who comes in, runs a fast 40, everybody goes gaga, and you miss on him because you watch his tape, he can't hold on to the fucking ball. Now, when you run the gauntlet, when you watch guys like Higgins, when he ran that 4.45, and then he ran, as far as I'm concerned, the best gauntlet that got ran over the weekend. I mean, then you watch him, and you 6'4", big body, awesome hands, faster than you expect. Yeah, that's a guy who really helped himself. Torrey Horton helped himself. I've been on him as a 4th round pick. I don't know if he's going to last anymore. So there's some interesting things that happen. I think Daniel Jeremiah went in his top 50 players. I want to say there was like 20 or 30 guys he replaced with after the combine, which is what I kind of, because everybody's so kind of equal. There's no superstars in talent. I kind of expected this with the combine after it, to everybody go, the guys we thought were really good maybe aren't so good. The guys who we think were kind of on the fence, now they put up big time. So yeah, we want to see.
Yeah.
I have a new draft crush, in case anybody's interested. DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas. That kid, you got to just put on his tape and watch him run. He's phenomenal. He's a cutback machine, and he had a great workout, ran 4.43.
Second in broad jump. 10,
broad
10.
jump, yep. 10-10 broad.
Let's see.
That kid,
vertical,
I think, is as good as the top three.
Second in vertical, too. 39.50 in vertical.
Go watch his highlights. I guarantee you for 5 minutes you'll fall in love with that guy.
Tested pretty well.
He's that good.
What's his projection?
That guy's a sleeper.
What'd you say his projection was?
I've seen like second, third round. I don't know, man. I think he's a lot better than that.
Well,
I'll tell you another sleeper. I picked him in my first mock and got a little crap over it. Why are you picking the tight end in the fourth round? Thomas Fadone looks like the real deal. Hey, he looks like the real deal, and you can get him in the mid rounds.
Shower curtain brought up Jaden Blue. He's more of a receiver threat, like out of the backfield, and he's not an every down
Blue's
back.
Another one
that 40 is just ridiculous.
Yeah, because didn't Blue say he was going to like run this incredible 40 as well?
Yeah,
wasn't he supposed to be much faster than that?
Dude, well, yeah, I mean, is this like I've seen a lot more 4.2s than I'm used to.
We have to
adjust. It just seems like every year we get more and more 4.2s, 4.3s. When I remember
4.3 was an anomaly 10 years ago. Now
10 years ago, 4.3 was
kind of
now
normal.
it's normal. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
No. That was basically it.
Because I was going to say it's a position I don't want them to take in the first 4 rounds, but this guy probably will be there in round 4, maybe round 5.
No.
Nate Rutledge out of Georgia, the guard.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's pretty good. Yep.
Pretty good. He's not the better Georgia guard, but he's an interesting guy to look at.
I was going to say, you said out of Georgia. I see Tate Rattledge. What was the other one you said, Bob?
The other kid. I think it's Booker, isn't it? Hold on. I'll know his name as soon as I see it. I just wiped that screen.
Because I do think there's a chance they take a guard in the later rounds. Fourth round through 7, I could see it happening. I really do.
Well, hopefully it's right.
As long as it's in the right place. Just
which is what John said.
Well, I was asking about the Georgia one.
Tyler Booker is the guy.
Booker, okay. Because Rattledge had a 4.97 40. I'm looking at everything here. Bench, I'm always interested in bench with offensive linemen. Let's see. Did he not do it? It looks like he didn't do it.
Booker is probably not getting out of the first round. It'll be late, but
that's the Bama kid, right? Yeah. He's not getting that. I don't think he is. What about that kid Membo out of was it Missouri? He's a tackle, but they think he's going to be a guard. He killed it. He absolutely killed it. I mean,
Rutledge was tied for second in broad jump too. So yeah, he tested well with what he did do.
You know, honestly, I would not hate putting Fatano at left guard and then Jones at left tackle and signing Morgan Moses as the right tackle for one season.
Yeah, I guess.
Then go readdress it.
Yeah.
Because you get Morgan Moses for probably 5, maybe 10 million at the most.
It's going to give me heartburn, Bob, thinking about this kind of stuff.
Do we think Warren has a chance to fall at 21?
Do you think that he has a chance to fall?
I think so. I think there's going to be a weird run. Something's going to happen somewhere, and it's going to push him down. But like I said, I agree with what Leeann said. Until I know what's around there, because Tyler Warren, it could absolutely be the best, but there could be a couple other defensive linemen that drop if other runs happen. Yeah, so it's Tyler. Who else is around Tyler Warren? But there would have to be someone really good to not make me want to take Tyler Warren.
For me, it's what D lineman is available, wide receiver, corner, and then from there, these guys like the Warrens or playmakers that are considered top playmakers in the draft. That's what they'll have to be weighed, in my opinion.
And bear in mind, if you do take Tyler Warren, you just paid Pat Fireman $48 million.
True.
So, to stack a tight end on that,
Here we go. Genty versus Warren. What if they're both there?
neither.
Ooh.
Bob's in neither. Okay.
Wait. So, do we have to take one, or
Yes,
we
gun to your head, Zach. Make a decision.
we have to take that.
Jesus.
That
When you look at
escalated
need.
very quickly.
When you look at need, I guess you got to do Genty.
From?
Right?
What's
Yeah,
that?
no. In that case, it would be probably Genty, just because
Okay.
we
Yeah, I think you gotta go
need
Genty,
that
yeah.
running back position.
So you're
addressed
Genty too,
more.
Leanne?
Genty.
Genty?
Yeah. And I
God,
love Warren. You guys know how I feel about Warren.
Crowd is
personally,
crowd is
Me too,
Genty
but
too.
it's
I think
Robert,
personally the smart play
Starton.
there, the smart play there is Genty. I think that because of the fact they need a running back technically, and he could be the guy, but God, I like Tyler Warren. I really
Yeah.
like him
I do
too.
too. I do
I like
too.
it. Hey, Caleb Johnson was all set to go in the top 3 to 5 running backs till he, walked out with cement shoes at the combine. Genty, let's say Genty goes to his pro day and runs a high 4.4s. All of a sudden, Genty ain't the guy.
You think so in the 4.4?
If he runs a disappointing 40, he might fall behind Hampton.
See me, if it was
And maybe
4.5 or
Anderson.
higher,
Maybe,
then I'm like,
maybe.
yeah. But 4.4, I'm not that as concerned.
High 4.4s. High.
So, okay.
If he's 4.41, that's not a big
But
deal.
4.48, that's when you're like, "Ugh."
Well, then, I think Amari and Hampton easily overtakes him as the number 1.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I would have said absolutely not before the combine, but these running backs ran so good that I think the gap closed a little bit between maybe Hampton and you watch Trevion Henderson on tape, man. That kid, and then Judkins
agree, yeah.
worked out so good. Wow.
So, what is our top 3 most talented classes then? Is it defensive, D lineman,
running
running
back
back,
one.
and
running back, and after
running
that, I
back,
don't know.
defensive line, yeah.
and that's pretty much the top 2, huh?
Yep.
I mean, because there's a gap after that. Because I know it's like they said there's like 25 to 30 NFL starting level running backs. There's maybe like 20 to 25 starting NFL level defensive linemen. That gap becomes a little bigger when you drop down to the next thing. So there probably is a third, but I don't know what it would be.
Animal is really good, Somber.
Yeah.
He's a really good wide receiver.
I was going to
prospect.
say the same thing. I thought he was
Yeah.
good.
It's hard not to say safety after, Emin Worry alone.
Oh,
Was,
Yeah, it's impressive. That is impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's.
does one good player make an impressive draft class?
Oh, I like I like the kid out of what's his name?
Safety?
Sebastian Castro out of Iowa. I like him a lot. He did okay.
I haven't looked
at
at safety too much.
Yeah,
I didn't either because it's not a big
Xavier
deal
Watts
for
out of Notre Dame is really good. Malachi Starks is really good. There are some
Yeah,
really
Starks
good
is going to be
safeties.
second round at the most.
Oh, see, I'm
I'm
not.
just throwing it out there. Jackson Dart met with the Steelers. I think that needs to be mentioned. My man.
a
And he was the best quarterback at the
I
combine.
wouldn't have a problem with.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't.
Another question. Eminor or Noel, the same pick, who would you take?
Noel. No, I like Noel.
On that.
Yeah, I take Noel.
Same.
I think so too.
Yeah,
Well, it'd be really fun at Christmas.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Vaughn makes a good point. That guy, I can't say his name, from Adamore or whatever. He did have a good game against Travis Hunter. In
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
Colorado
that's
game.
true. He did.
He beat
The
him up
Stanford
pretty
kid?
good. Yeah.
Slow though. Big
What did
guy,
he run?
kind of slow.
What did he run? I thought he ran pretty good.
Ooh, more?
Yeah.
He did
I can't-
really well. He did really well. 4.38.
Yeah, I thought he was good.
He ran good.
Oh yeah.
He was top like 3 in everything almost.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the same guy, the big giant receiver.
Nick
out of
Emma
Stanford.
Worry, South Carolina.
No. The wide receiver from Stanford. No,
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
not
I'm sorry, I missed. I could have sworn they said Emma. Okay.
Yeah, I misunderstood too.
his name. His last name begins with an A too, and I can't pronounce it. Let me
Yeah,
look it up real quick.
I'm looking it up now. I'm
There's
pretty sure
Io
that's
Maynor out of Stanford.
Yeah.
He ran a 4.44.
Yeah, which is better than expected.
That's him.
From him too.
That's him.
Is that
Yeah.
him? Okay.
Yeah, that's 444. That's good for his size. He's a big dude. So
Yeah. Those guys who are 6'3", 6'4", if they run in the low 4.4s, there's very few guys that size who have ever run that fast.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the profile loaded on. All 6'2",
Can
206 pounds, 32 and 3/8 arms, 10-inch hands. Hands are real important. We know that.
I didn't know that they could like extend their hand size temporarily just for the
Oh,
draft.
that was a whole
I didn't
thing
know that.
with
yeah,
Kenny
that was a big
Pickett,
thing
where
with
he
Shador
was doing, like,
Sanders, right?
stretches and stuff to try
Yeah.
to make his hands bigger so people would
His-
stop bullying him on
Yep.
the playground.
His prospect grade is a 6.19, which means good backup with the potential to develop into a starter.
Who's that? The Stanford kid?
The LA
Okay.
IO Maynor.
I
out of
have
Stanford.
no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Well, that's good. We don't need a starter. We need a wide receiver too. But I'm thinking,
As far as quarterbacks go, I mean, I think the only guy who really hurt himself at the combine is Will Howard. He's
Yeah, he didn't
probably a
look good,
late
huh?
day 3 pick now.
he struggled in the
The scout
throwing
who
part
picked
of it.
Russell Wilson should work for free this week.
That's a good one.
Yeah, as much as look, if you draft Jackson Dart and throw him on the field, he's going to bust. But if you're telling me it's Jackson Dart or Russell Wilson,
Come on,
Yes,
Bob.
Jackson
Come on
Dart.
over.
I don't want to.
I would-
I don't want to
wouldn't
do
be my
the,
first pick.
I don't want to do the we can't develop a quarterback shit again for another 3 years and watch
Yeah.
him flounder out there. And
I will
not
admit,
developed.
Pittsburgh is not
I
probably
don't know
the
what you're
ideal
talking
spot.
about.
would
for
Kenny
him.
think
Pickett's a Super Bowl champion, so
I'll admit, Pittsburgh's not the
David?
desirable
Why?
location for him to start his career. That's for sure.
Zach caught it. All right.
he had hurt. That's why I felt the physical. No, none of that. None of that.
All right, guys. Anybody else from the draft we need to talk about? Somber.
That kid Tyler Shuck, I
really
mean,
good.
they said he's got top talent. It's just he's 25, going to be 26, and he's broken his collarbone twice and
Yeah.
fractured his ankle.
I
So
I didn't get to watch the quarterback's throw, which really sucks because I really wanted to watch it.
they said he was the most impressive arm by far at the combine. By
Which
far.
one? Which
A
one?
lot of guys
Shuck.
didn't
Set
throw.
him
Shuck.
free.
Shuck.
I guess.
Well, I'm coming in with some advice for you, Dave. If you love Dart, you will set him
Yes,
free.
good point, Vaughn. Good point. Good point.
And if it's
You got to
meant to
learn
be,
that in
Dart
life
will come back
sometimes.
to you.
Just
Don't
got to let
make
it go.
him suffer. Don't make him suffer.
Yeah, a lot of the best guys didn't throw though. Well, that is one.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, but they say Tyler Shuck is top talent. It's just the injuries have really set him back. He was in college for 7 years.
And Howard sucked, correct? I did see that he I
He was
watched
bad.
that's on the. Okay.
People like him too, though. People think he's got a
Yeah.
shot. I don't know. I've never been a big fan, but
It's because of the speed thing, the miles per hour where he got clocked running down the field. But I mean, he's scattergun. It's kind of, I mean, a lot of these guys are a little bit scattergun. I mean, I really think you're going to look back on this draft, and with Brock Purdy being in the Pickett draft, we may only see, I do think 2 or 3 guys out of this draft might end up being okay starting level quarterbacks. I don't think any of them are stars, but there's some mid to okay guys who could be top 15-ish type quarterbacks.
yeah, you put Jackson Dart in San Francisco, they're not missing a beat.
But Trey
They're not
Lance
missing
in
a beat.
San Francisco, they missed a lot of beats.
Yeah, well, Trey Lance is a whole different ballgame.
All right, guys, if you joined us tonight in the comments, we definitely really appreciate it. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow all of us on social media. You see our usernames on the screen. You can also follow the Steelers Sanctuary page in the Steelers Sanctuary podcast page on Twitter. If you're watching this after it was already recorded, we still want to hear from you. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you thought. And we will look forward to seeing all of you on
Wait, before we go, we should talk about the draft and our plans on the
yes.
draft.
Oh, I'm so glad you said something. Yes, we are going to do a draft show. We're still working on the details, but we'll definitely be covering that whole first night. We've got a bunch of special guests that we're working on booking that we've already confirmed, so that's exciting. And we are going to do a draft game. David, you want to give like a brief explanation of the draft game?
Yeah, it's called Draft Bash, and basically it'll be every Steeler fan versus each other, and we will see whose picks are the most accurate. You'll also pick top 3 top 3 picks overall, which college has the most draft picks, who's Mr. Irrelevant, the last player picked in the draft. Just a little fun thing to do that, just makes watching the draft even more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and there will be prizes.
Yeah, we're gonna try to throw some prizes in there
guys
too.
to join in, like Bob and Dave said, there will be prizes. So we'll be getting you guys the information on that, and
Yeah, we're still working out the details.
People to join us for the draft game.
It's going to be an awesome
a lot of
night.
fun. Yeah, be a good time.
Yep.
And we'll
All
be
right, everybody. Oh, sorry.
one thing real quick. So Zach, we'll not just be streaming the first night. We're going to do day 2 and 3 too, as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the day one is the biggest one, the most immersive. But we'll be there for all of them because you never know which guy is going to end up being a Hall of Famer and which point.
Yeah.
So.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Ain't nothing over till it's over.
What's that from? The 80s?
It's probably the 70s.
Now what the fuck are we supposed to do?
This is disappointing as hell.
Yo, come back now, you hear?
Saw that coming.